Hello friends. So you guys chose the most complicated waterfall. So I'm actually going to do this one and hopefully it doesn't go too long. And please feel free to take the drawing and kind of simplify this as well. I think I will do that simpler one. Let me show you. I also, let's see here. I had this one, which I think could be really fun. So I think I'll do a separate tutorial on that. But this is the one you all chose, which actually would be really pretty done in regular style as well. But I wanted to do it a tiny bit similar to the what was it we did? Ocean that we all played with. So I'm just using my kneaded eraser here. I can get you a link for that. And by the way, because I get asked about this a lot, I always share as much that I can remember of my supplies in my description. So please, you know, if there's something I use that you're curious where to get it, you can always look in my description. And a lot of times I will put as much as I can in there. Okay, so the paper, by the way, I'm using is the Artisto. As you know, I'm a huge Artisto fan. The normal Artisto paper that I recommend all the time, I just ordered some more, are these wonderful packs. They come in a pack of 3. I know I have heard from some of you in the UK and some different areas they're quite costly, but they're really great. They have such a great texture. And I actually label all of these and will keep them like as journals to refer back to. I label them by the month or the subject. But if you can't get those, one second, the Meeden is a great paper as well for beginners. It's actually 100% cotton. You get 20 sheets. And one of the things I love is, that's another one I'm going to be doing for you guys, by the way. They're blocks, which I really like. It's just kind of convenient. So those are a couple choices I always try to share with you. Now today I am going to be using, let me find my brush, my 8 brush to paint this. And I'm going to kind of try to simplify this a little bit. Let's see how we do. I'm using my white ceramic Meeden palette, my Youlan 5th generation series Paul Rubens. But feel free to use your beautiful My Lang palettes. Lots of pretty blues and browns and greens in there. So they're really kind of my favorite. My Lang, by the way, is a sister company of Paul Rubens. Makes sense, right? Their colors are so beautiful. But I am going to use, I think I'll go ahead and use the Youlan if I want some more of those pretty turquoises. I might go ahead and use some of these as well, but use what you have. And then, like I said, I'm going to be using my brushes from my set that, thank you to you guys in the interest, should be released in July. The last thing here that I'll tell you about is, of course, always have your water dishes. This, I know, looks dirtier, way dirtier than it is. I just should have changed it before we started here. This is my wash, this is my rinse. It's really important for your rinse to be nice and clean because watercolors are transparent. So let's go ahead and get started here. I can't think of anything else. I offered all of these drawings, by the way, they're both on my website. You can email me for them. It's also on my community page. I offered all these. So if you print those out, you can hold the drawing up to a window like so with the paper on top of it, and the light will shine through and you can trace those. You can use carbon paper. So lots of different ways, or you can just draw this by yourself. What I noticed is composition wise, this is a zigzag. Just thought I'd point that out. So that's kind of interesting. All right, well, let's get started. I'm going to start from the top here And just going to grab my dark brown, which this is, let's see, I'll tell you the exact color that is. It is, that's their Venetian brown actually, but I added a little bit of brown umber in there. And I'm going to do very similar to that ocean, or that's my goal here. So using the tip of the brush, I mixed some of this here. So sorry for the cold, you guys. I know it sounds horrible. I take care of my grandkids a lot, and you know how it is when you have grandkids. So I'm leaving lots of white space, and I'm actually just going to paint lights and darks, just how we did with that ocean series. Matter of fact, so I'm varying the values. Let me see if I can find that water scene we painted. Let's see here. Shoot, can't find it right now. But I tried to simplify a lot of the shapes and then just use different values, meaning a lighter value is more water, less pigment. Darker value is more pigment, less water. So let's keep going here. And I'm just painting shapes. That's what is so fun about, what I thought was so fun about these type of paintings, is just painting these shapes and keeping them fairly simple. And having some variety, so darker colors, lighter values, different shades. I did this a little bit more gray because it is in the foreground, the background rather. And then up here, I might just make that a little bit lighter, maybe even add some of that yellow ochre. So again, thinking in shapes and leaving that white space. I just want to create something really fun and interesting. So the background is going to have the lighter, grayer, duller type of hues. And as we move in the foreground, they would become more a darker value. But really, because this is more of an abstract, you could really paint these however you want. So here is another layer. Where is my drawing of this? So use the drawing and just kind of try to simplify some of this into more little shapes that remind you of these little hillsides. And I'm using very light pressure and the tip of my brush. And creating these lines that come down. A little bit of water and tapping it on the side of my water well. I love the Meeden products. They're just so wonderful. They're really pretty too. They're very white. Okay, so now we're going to start getting into some of that fun water, but let's do this little side of the cliff here, and maybe let's mix a color here. Maybe a little bit of gold. Like that. Just trying to make this as interesting as possible, like our ocean series. Just giving it that feeling of these cliffs kind of tumbling over. Like that. And then let's play with some of these in the back. So I'm going to grab some more brown, and I'm really kind of using all my browns here. Like this. There's some more here. Just varying those shades. So I'm not getting too picky here about drawing exactly perfection. I'm just giving that illusion of these cliffs rolling over. And I think for me, that's always something, you know, I work to create shapes. When I look at something to paint, I think about the shapes more than being exactly, you know, saying, okay, I'm going to draw these cliffs, because then that's too much for my mind and it can't figure it out. So now let's go into some of this water, and I'm going to use a beautiful turquoise. So in Youlan, that is their turkey blue, as we all know. And I'm going to start painting this water tumbling down from the edges of the cliffs, of the rocks. And you can paint these in darker shades, you know, maybe make some of them darker, some of them lighter, same as we did with the ocean. And if you miss that, you can always go back and look. And then I think I want to use some light blue. Their sky blue is very pretty. Just to add a fun little change in color. So again, drawing shapes versus trying to draw the exact image. This always is very helpful for me. So we've got that feeling of the water coming over the edges. And actually some of these you could have done blue. We could even add in some blue, which I'll make a little bit darker. I really should wait for these to dry. And that looks, since this is in the background, I'm using a darker value to look a little bit cloudier. There we go. So you're just using these shapes in this little middle area. I'm just going to draw water shapes. And then we have more coming down here. So we can get kind of creative with some of those. Really get to have a lot of fun with your colors. That's what makes this such a fun little project, I think. And I'm using a lot of the tip of my brush, just so you know. Very light pressure, holding my brush up and down. Maybe add, I'm not even really rinsing my brush out because I'm using all similar analogous colors. But I am trying to vary the values. And then maybe over here on the side, I might just use a tiny bit of the sky blue in your Youlan palette. So this is, you know, one of those projects, it's just kind of fun to do and play with. We could even add a little bit of green. Maybe let's use this emerald green. That could be really pretty. I mean, make this wonderfully colorful and just have fun with it. So again, using the tip of my brush. When I made these brushes, I really wanted a brush that could get both the thick and the thin lines, and that's why I really do love the 8 brushes. Maybe that splashes up a bit. Lighter value. And then I'll create this little rock in the background. These. And pointing out again, I'm leaving lots of white space in here. And then I think up here I'll add some more blue. So this water looks like it's coming out through some of the rocks here. I mean, can't you just hear this almost in your mind? You've got this zigzaggy effect. And just playing with the shapes with your eye. So your eye is recognizing, oh, that looks like water. Let's see if we can find a little different color here. Let's see what color that is. Here's turkey blue. Okay. And let's see what other color. Let's add in a little bit more of that green in the back here. So all shapes, we're not doing blending here. We're not doing any softening. We're just dealing all with shapes. We'll do this rock here. So funny, I keep picking up the same color. There we go. Maybe just creating those fun little hills, and then I'm going to use that sienna in the Youlan palette. So we can bring in a little bit of that color over there. There's a boulder. Another boulder. And there you go. Hopefully you're getting that feeling. I'm going to use some of that yellow ochre. I mean, there's, you know, honestly, there's no right and wrong here. It's just playing with colors and shapes and using colors and shapes that will lead your eye around and through your painting. So I'm making sure those colors are weaving back and forth, so I don't have all of this kind of golder color here. And then I might darken some of these up in value just for some interest. Look at that. Yeah, I like that. So that's really how I'm creating some fun visual interest. Might put a little bit of rock in there. A shape. And then let's move on to these little stones on the sides. Mixing a brown here. I feel like I want to go darker though. I feel like I want to go a little bit darker. And wide, skinny, wide, creating some different shapes there. There we go. Okay, and some of that yellowish color, maybe make another rock right here. And then we want to add that in on this side as well. So we're balancing out that color. It's switching back and forth. Using all my browns. Just coloring shapes. Have to refer back to my picture just a little bit. There we go. And you can always go back in here and darken in some of this for some good interest. There we go. I really want to try a dark, dark chocolatey brown, which I believe this in the Youlan palette is one I mixed with their brown and some green, but in your My Lang palette, it's like a Van Dyke brown. Okay. And then let's go in here and add some swirls of blue with some fun little swirls, and we'll add more to those. Here's another one. Just little swirls of water. And I'm varying the values, so some are darker, some are lighter. Maybe we could even do some of that green. Wait for that to dry a bit. You can even throw in your metallics. If you have any metallics, I didn't show you those, but if you have the larger My Lang palette, it does have the metallics, and you can definitely add those in there. Those are always fun. If not, just use the blues you have is perfectly fine. Maybe to create some shine on the edges here. Really trying to give that feeling of this rushing water. But leaving a lot of white in and around, because that white that you leave also guides your eye around your space. So here I'm using that blue metallic, just coloring in like kind of puddle type shapes. Maybe use this rock over here. And I'm varying the pressure on my brush, so that's how I got thick, thin, thick. Just applying more and less More pressure, lighter pressure. Let's see here. Refer to my drawing here. For right here, that's just a rock, just to make sure. And I'm going to use a little bit of that yellow ochre. There we go. Just creating these rocks, and then I'm going to bring the yellow ochre over here. More pressure, lift up to the tip. There we go. Yeah, I like that. And here's a little rock. We'll do some little rocks. You could actually even do those in kind of a dark brown. Just painting in a rock shape. Like that. Like they're kind of sticking out of the water. So really simplifying this, isn't that fun? I didn't practice this, by the way, so I'm kind of doing this as it comes to me, hoping it was going to look okay. Tend to do that a lot. And I will say sometimes it can be a little bit of a hot mess. So lots of shapes. And then let's do a few more dark blues in there. So I've got a mix here of Prussian blue. And look at that dark value. I want to make it look like it's falling deep inside here. So I'm going to go in between these and look at that. Just kind of outlining shapes. So it looks like it's falling down in there. Maybe a shape here. I don't want to get rid of too much of the white though. But those deep dark colors really catch your eye and pull it in. Maybe some of that dark blue color around here and over here. And I'm using, because it is water, I'm using a lot of rounded shapes. So again, I'm mentioning that right now because sometimes those are things I do just kind of intuitively, because water is very flowing and soft around the edges. And then let's add in a shape here. Like that. I hope you're enjoying this. This is really an invitation to play. And see what you can come up with. Let's see, what is this color here? Oh, that's kind of like, I think they call that color, here's the Youlan palette. It's a brown umber, and that's really pretty. It's almost like a dark, almost smoky brown. I really actually like that color. So we can add in some of that here too. Yeah, I like that. Just creating lots of interest. What do you think, you guys? Do you think this is something you could really have fun with? I hope so. These are the kind of things I love working on just in the evening, just to kind of play. And then I think I'm going to leave that, not color this side in. So I've got this zigzag thing going on. So I'm going to bring the zigzag back over here. So let's color in some more of that. Again, using those rounded shapes. And let's add in a little bit of that fun blue. If you have the light sky blue, use that. If you happen to have metallics, you can use that. So we've got this zigzag. And this is very similar to the ocean and waves. And then let's use that to bring the eye over there. So we're going this way and now back that way. And then let's see about this one here. Maybe we could do that in some of that dark, deep blue, which is like a Prussian blue. Rounding the edges. I think that might be a rock there. So kind of do a rock shape. There we go. And some lighter values, darker values. Ah, isn't this fun? I just love stuff like this. I think it's such a good exercise in recognizing shapes and what they resemble. I want to leave lots of white space, so I'm really trying not to fill in too much. There we go. Yeah, this is really fun, you guys. Let your imagination go and just see what colors you have and vary those. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that blue sparkle. And let's see, where could we use some? Maybe we could use a little up here. Like that. So boy, look at that. Now I see we do have some clouds here. So like we did in our ocean, just filling in those cloud shapes. I'm using the side of my brush. You don't want to get too crazy in there because we've got a lot going on down in here. So I don't want to get too much up in here. So I'm going to leave that kind of basic. There we go. And then we've got a tree here. So you could do a tree a number of ways, but you could also just leave it kind of like a tree. And maybe some curly cues you could do. I'm using the tip of that round 8 brush. I'm going to pick up some of this tree green. Now the only thing that I just did that I may have to adjust down in here is I added that light green, which I didn't have anywhere else in my painting. So I might have to add some of that somewhere else, so that it's not just right there. Otherwise, our eye kind of tends to get stuck right there. So let's try and add a tiny bit of that green, maybe down here. Like that. So we've got some of it moving around. We could add some down here. Yeah, I like that. And just keep going. Just little mounds of greens. Because trees always remind me they have like little bunches. So little shapes that are kind of rounded, right? Now you may see something different than I do, so your tree may have something different. And then we've got the brown trunks, which are pretty much, you know, they're just what they are. And then here's another tree here, so use your creative license here. I'm making my shapes of anything with greenery. I think this is the Youlan palette Hooker's green. And now a little bit of that tree green. There we go. Look how fun that is. And again, we're keeping in line with that zigzag. So I could really say I'm about done here. And I would frame this, you guys. Most importantly, and you know what? Let's use some grass. That would be a good way to use some of that green. I don't want to put my hand in that. So point, press, release, point, press. Maybe another one here, point, press. Again, shapes. Point, press. And that point press, that really brings your eye around with that green. And then I'm going to add some of that dark green to those. So sorry, you guys, I have a ruddy nose. I've had it for a week. Just again, looking at my picture and seeing where I might add some of that to guide my eye around. And I want to say I'm about done. I don't want to do too much. I want to keep this kind of free and really just using the lines to guide our eye around. But how fun. The last thing I do want to do is just sign my name. So I'm going to do a quick little short on our signatures. I'm working on mine, so maybe you guys can give me some feedback on that. This is actually going to be one of the first times I sign my name with a brush. I always use a pen. So you tell me what you think. Let's see. It's so important where you put your signature too. I feel like I want to put it right here. So D, W, L. And there you go. I think I'm about done, friends. What do you think? I hope you will download or print out this copy. And as you can see here, it looks quite complicated, but just look at it as shapes. Don't even look at it as a waterfall. Like focus on it, squint your eyes even, and you'll just see these shapes. And then make sure to guide your viewer's eye around in an interesting way. So not just having metallics here, or you saw me put green here, so I had to add it in other places. And keep it simple. I hope you'll give this a try. Thank you so much. You can sign up for an interest list on my brushes. There's actually 5. And I'm hoping they will come out in July. I will put all of my supplies down below for you. If there's anything I didn't list, please feel free to ask me. And I hope you have fun with this. Thank you so much for being here with me. You guys are truly just a blessing to me. I love sharing with you. And I hope to keep continuing to have fun. All right, I'll see you soon.